Can I be honest? I don't fully understand what's happening in this country right now. The Charlie Kirk shooting, the killing of Renee Good, the ICU nurse Alex Pretti, the unrest in Minnesota. And I know if it doesn't make sense to me, it definitely doesn't make sense to my kids. So today, I want to talk about how I'm navigating these conversations as a parent. Hi friends, Toya here at Toya Talks, where I share real-world wisdom and practical tips from my lived experience as a wife, mother, and nurse practitioner for women and mothers through all stages of motherhood. So today, I want to talk about something that's been weighing really heavily on me as a parent, and that's how to talk to our kids about the current state of unrest in this country. Specifically, some of the major things that have happened recently: the Charlie Kirk shooting, the killing of Renee Good, the ICU nurse Alex Pretti, the unrest in Minnesota, and the government messaging that has directly contradicted the video evidence and what we've seen with our own eyes. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Don't get me started on the government shutdown and the confusion and infighting that the kids are seeing among politicians, rumors of war, and an overall pervasive fear of the future that so many people feel. And honestly, how do you talk to your kids about that? I'll be very honest. I feel a deep sense of helplessness as a parent right now. I'm living in a world that I don't fully understand myself. These aren't things we saw growing up in the US, at least not in this way. In a very real sense, I feel like I'm witnessing a historic breakdown of parts of our government that I always assumed would be there and be functional. So I'm processing these emotions myself, and at the same time trying to help my kids process them too. One of the hardest realities as a parent is realizing that we can't fully shield our kids anymore. With TikTok, social media, the internet, and just how fast information spreads, even if you don't watch the news at home, kids are still hearing about these things at school. I remember when my daughter came home from school and asked me, "Mommy, did you see the shooting of Charlie Kirk? They showed it on TV and it's all over TikTok." I was so caught off guard because when she told me, I hadn't heard about it yet or seen the video. I had to get myself caught up while helping her process having watched a traumatic video and answer the questions that came up for her about that, while also grieving in my heart a little bit the loss of innocence from my daughter that I had no control over. The same thing happened with the shootings in Minnesota of Renee Good and Alex Pretti and so many other violent acts that have been publicized. Even going back to George Floyd, all of us watching him say he couldn't breathe. During that time, when my kids were younger, there were parts of those moments and stories I could shield them from. Now that they're teens, I can't. So the question becomes, how do we have these conversations when we don't have all the answers? So number one, start with listening, not explaining. It's so important to listen to our kids. More than anything, my kids need a safe place to bring their confusion and their questions. And it's okay to say, "I don't understand this either. What we're seeing is not normal. This isn't how things are supposed to look when our government is functioning at its best and the way it was intended." At the same time, it's important to reassure them that we are okay and that we will get through this. A lot of times, kids don't need us to talk more, they need us to listen better. Two, reinforce values and morals with your kids. Another important piece is reminding them that regardless of what they're seeing or hearing, kindness still matters. Encourage them to follow a strong moral compass, to use their understanding of right and wrong, to recognize that mistreatment, bias, and cruelty at any level is wrong, period. This is also where conversations about voting and civic engagement matter. To that point, number three is teach engagement, not apathy. I truly believe one of the worst things we can do as citizens is become apathetic. Shrugging our shoulders and saying, "I can't do anything about it, so I'll just put my head down and hope it fixes itself," is not how change happens. History shows us that. The Holocaust happened because too many people and entire nations closed their eyes until things became so atrocious that intervention was unavoidable. You can say the same thing about slavery. So helping our kids understand that their voice matters is critical. 4, model engagement through your own actions. One of the most powerful things we can do is let our kids see us engaged. I take my kids with me when I vote. I take them to council meetings and town halls. I bring them to community events, conferences, and service opportunities. They're also involved in church and ministry work. They see me showing up. And this is not at all to brag. I do all these things because I feel strongly about community and civic engagement. And what this also does is show my kids what engagement looks like, even if it's small. The way that you engage in your community doesn't have to look the way I engage. What's important is the engagement itself, the involvement, and the example that we show to our children. I know it can feel impossible to affect change at a national or federal level, but I truly believe our greatest power starts at home and in our communities. That's where grassroots movements begin. And grassroots effort can change towns, cities, states, and eventually nations. Change starts small, and it starts close to home. The most important thing I want my kids to understand is this: no matter how scary or confusing things get, we can never give into apathy. We can never accept cruelty, chaos, or the mistreatment of those who are more vulnerable. We may get discouraged, but we do not give up. Our ancestors fought, bled, and died for the freedoms we have today. Freedom is costly, but it is priceless. We owe it to them and to our children to keep fighting for a better future. This is a hard moment in our history right now, and it's okay to admit that. But our kids don't need us to have all the answers. They need us to be present, honest, engaged, and hopeful. Thanks for being here with me. I'll see you next time on Toya Talks.